So I just got back from the meeting this morning, and I thought before I start my experiments I'll just briefly mention what it's like. So this one is a paper of the week and progress report meeting every week, as I said. And this one is particularly within our group. These are normally held in English, as all the other presentations and kind of formal reports, writing, everything is in English because that's how it normally is in the scientific community, especially in Europe. Although I do attend German courses just to learn the language. I'm here for 4 years at least, so I might as well. It looks really good in your CV, and it does make things easier overall. So it's definitely an advantage to learn the language of the country you are in. But it's definitely not a absolute requirement, so nothing to be stressed about. It's whether you want to or not. So most of the time you'll be hearing about me doing experiments, setting up for experiments, but that doesn't necessarily mean that all of these experiments actually end up in the PhD research thesis. One of the things that they highly recommend to the grad students in the IMPRESS program is not only do you, in the beginning of your PhD, outline your project so you know exactly what you're there for and what you're going to do in the following years, but also a fallback project. So in case something doesn't work out, in case I find out in 6 months from now that all of the experiments I've been doing now to set up the experiment work, that's great. But when I actually carry out the main things, it might still not work. And then I don't want to be in a situation where I'm going to start all over again, or I don't have any other project to think about, so I might either have to quit my PhD or wander around. I mean, this is not the case, so this is nothing to worry about. Setting up your PhD right at the beginning is actually compulsory for the grad school program, because after the first 6 months of your PhD, there's a thesis advisory committee meeting. And that's basically a committee where you choose 3 professors of your own selection, or it can be someone recommended by your supervisor. This may or may not include your collaborators. And then after the first 6 months, you have to present exactly what you're going to do for your PhD, preferably a year-to-year plan on what you aim to finish by year 2, year 3, etc. Also, if there are any side projects, that's fantastic. That's always good to have. Collaborations are always good to have, but obviously you have to prioritize on your main project. Also, since I've just finished my first year, it's a little bit too early to start writing the thesis. Again, I would say this is something that depends on your project. As for me, it's definitely too early. Right, so now I need to take care of my tissue, so I'll see you later. So I'm done for the day. It's about 7:15. I've done everything I aim to do today, which is really good, although tomorrow and Friday are going to be quite long days, because not only do I have to do several experiments, but I have to do several long experiments. But that's something for tomorrow. Now I'm going to go home and call it a night. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. I've just arrived to the lab, and according to my calendar, I'm doing quite a big experiment today, which has a follow-up tomorrow. There are 10 Western blots to do for antibody screening, and there are 36 antibodies to go through today in different conditions. So it's going to be quite a lot, but I'm going to do it. Other things I need to do is take images, and I'm pretty sure that something's just gonna creep up that I probably forgot or someone needs, so let's do this. I've just finished day 1 of the really big experiment that I was talking about this morning. I'm exhausted and it's only, okay, it's 5, okay, it's not too bad. So I'm just taking a break from the lab now, and what I tend to do during these breaks is check my emails, make sure everything is up to date in terms of replying people, obviously. Also, I get some reading done. What I did during the beginning of my PhD was set up Google alerts for keywords that are related to my PhD project. So if anything is recently published with these keywords, then I immediately get an email, and so I can keep track of my reading and make sure that I'm up to date with all the information. What I'm going to do for the rest of the day now is make sure I catch up on my reading, and there have been a few papers out which I need to read, which I have kind of postponed doing, but I'm gonna do that now. So it's 7 o'clock. I have done what I need to do today. Something did come up. So I had to do an additional experiment today on top, which will have a follow-up tomorrow and on Saturday, which is a shame. So I'll have to work this weekend. But it is what it is. Things happen. Things like that happen all the time in the lab. Although I did achieve everything that I wanted to do today, which is really good. Things that I should have done include doing a little bit more setting up for tomorrow, which will make my life easier tomorrow. But I want to go home, so I'm gonna go home now. And this evening I'm just gonna shut my brain off, go swimming, and tomorrow's a new day, and I'll see you then. Hello, so I haven't been able to record anything early in the morning today or during the day because it's been a very busy day. It was the day 2 of this really big experiment, and it turns out that yesterday evening I found out that the experiments from the day before didn't work. So basically I had to carry over the workload from midweek to today, and there was already enough going on, so it was just very tiring today. In the end it did work though, so that's good news, although I didn't see what I wanted to see, so I'm a bit disappointed, but that's science. So now it's 6 o'clock and I'm just taking a break. It's literally been non-stop. Just finishing up from today by making sure that I record everything before I go, so that I don't have to worry about it during the weekend or next week. I look forward to coming back to you next week. I will be mainly focusing on preparing for my progress report, which is a week after, and the moving process to Germany and the transition to my PhD, as well as the very special and very interesting Oktoberfest seminar. So I'll see you then.